28th of May, Corinne and I set off in Blondie, our camper van, en route for Europe.
Thanks very much for letting us stay in your house last night. That was fantastic. Okay, you be good, and I'll see you soon. Alright, give me 5. Good man. Cheers, bud. Good man. Cheers, Milky Boy.
After an overnight stay at our niece's house in Redditch, we set off for Portsmouth for the overnight Brittany's ferry to St Malo. So it's just arrived in the cabin. That is pretty impressive. And we've got a little toilet with a basin and a shower. Superb. Yeah, happy with that. Happy with that, Cliff? Cool. It was the night of the Champions League final and I was looking forward to watching the match with a couple of beers. It was a nice calm night for the crossing with a lovely sunset, and before we knew it we'd almost slept in for departing the ferry. After a nice continental breakfast, we spent a few hours wandering the city walls of St Malo, which was really rather impressive. Apparently St Malo was historically a town where state-sponsored pirates known as the Corsairs and operating on behalf of the Crown based themselves during the Middle Ages. The city was extensively damaged by British and American bombing during World War II and was restored brick by brick to its former glory between 1948 and 1960. Our next stop for the night was only a 1 hour drive to Mont Saint-Michel. This was a place I'd seen several times on the Tour de France coverage and I've wanted to see it in the flesh ever since. The Mont covers an area of 7 hectares and rises to a height of 80 metres above sea level. The abbey was built at the top of it in 708 AD by Saint Aubert, the Bishop of Avranches, after he saw the Archangel Saint Michel appear in his dreams 3 times. After getting parked up, we caught the bus for the short journey to the Mont. The Mont sits about 1 kilometre off the Normandy coast. It proved to be a beautiful place to visit with some lovely narrow cobble streets, ancient buildings and its fair share of tat sellers, which you always find at similar attractions. There were some nice views from the top, but I was a little disappointed that on the 2 occasions I managed to get out to the Mont it was low tide, as it would have been nice to see it both surrounded by sand and also by water at high tide. I had my first pint of Affligem on the Mont and it wouldn't be my last. If you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm very close to 600 subscribers now and hitting that milestone would be awesome. Many thanks. Mont Saint-Michel behind us. Quite a stunning place. Cycled out there this morning just to get a wee couple of drone shots and see it in the morning light. Really smart. Very impressive. It was then time to set off on the 4-hour drive to La Tronche-sur-Mer, where we were to stay for the rest of our first week. We pitched camp and then headed off for the local beach, which was a 600 metre walk away. The next day we headed north to have a look at Les Sables d'Olonne, a lovely wee seaside town which sits on a 7-mile beach. Belle comme un sablez. The French seem to like a fountain about as much as I like filming them, which works for me. The following morning I set off in the recce of La Tronche-sur-Mer. It's quite a pretty little town, although we were starting to find out that the summer season in France seems to be concentrated around July and August, and many of the restaurants were either closed or were just gearing up for July. This part of France, the Vendée, seemed to be pretty flat, and the cycle path provision was impressive, so I saw lots of people cycling when I was out for a pedal. As I headed north out of the town, it felt like cycling through a TV feed of Le Tour. Unfortunately, I only managed to get out on the bike 3 times during the first week, but I was pretty sure that John and I would get quite a few miles in during the second week. I cut in towards the coast to check out the conditions of the local surf break, but although the beach and sand dunes were stunning, the conditions were flat with no waves to be had. Boo! Fantastic cycle path here from Lake Conche into Tronche-sur-Mer. Lovely day.
been under intense bombardment.
Et pour aller et retour?
Oui.
D'accord, merci bien.
The next day we drove down to Ile de Ré, another island about 2 kilometres off the coast of La Rochelle, and we headed for the capital, Saint Martin de Ré. Saint Martin has a beautiful harbour cum marina, which is lined with restaurants. It's quite a beautiful little place, and with its small, narrow cobbled streets and shuttered houses, it almost feels like you've stepped back into the 1930s. I put the drone up and I think the footage really shows the town off in all its glory. It was a lovely sunny and very hot day as Europe was starting to experience a bit of a heatwave. It would have been rude not to try oysters for the first time whilst in the oyster capital of France, so I had 6 of them for a starter and they were lovely. I followed them with some grilled sardines, which were also excellent. All the mulberry bags in the world couldn't have convinced Corinne to try the oysters, and I don't think she was too impressed by the sardines either. I managed to swap an old surfboard which was no good to me for a 7-foot foam top board and had been itching to get it in the water. As I said earlier, it had been flat, but I thought there might be a chance of a small swell on their last day. I went back up to Lake Conche, and although the surf was small and beach breaky, it was nice to get the board christened. It performed well and I can't wait to get it into some bigger waves in a couple of weeks' time. There was a surf school in the water beside me, and it was fantastic to hear all the kids really enjoying learning to surf and watching their reactions. I was a little bit rusty as I haven't been in the water since our trip to the Western Isles last October, but it was nice to get wet again, and I'm really looking forward to spending 10 days or so in the water at Biarritz and Biscarrosse later this month. Hopefully we'll get some nice surf. I'd bought a 2mm shorty wetsuit for surfing in France and was happy with it, although the water felt pretty warm, certainly a lot warmer than Scotland. That was the first week of our wee European trip done, and we set off for the Dordogne to meet up with Big John to help him celebrate his big birthday, along what I consider to be a quintessentially French road. I'll add the link to the second week's video at the end of this one.